The next article is related to the opportunity to rebalance the World Trade Organization, as the 14th Ministerial Conference of the WTO is going to be held in Cameroon, Africa. So we will discuss the governance structure of the World Trade Organization. Particularly, we will focus upon the dispute settlement mechanism in the WTO, which this article also talks about. We'll observe what are the suggestions for improving the dispute settlement mechanism, what are the goals of WTO. This is important in GS2 under the topic important international institutions, agencies and fora, their structure and mandate. First, let's observe the governance structure of the World Trade Organization. The WTO comprises of first the Ministerial Conference. The Ministerial Conference is the highest decision-making body of the WTO. It meets every 2 years. All the members of the WTO are part of the Ministerial Conference, they participate in it. Then there is the General Council of the WTO. The General Council oversees the day-to-day operations of the World Trade Organization, and it is based in Geneva. The General Council itself acts as the trade policy review body, and it also functions as the dispute settlement body as well. It oversees three key councils, that is the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, GATS and the TRIPS Council as well. The trade related aspects of the intellectual property rights. Apart from that, regarding the dispute settlement mechanism, there is the dispute settlement body. The dispute settlement body is the function of the General Council itself, and then subsequently, if it is not able to solve the dispute, the independent panels are constituted, the independent expert panels, and then there is the appellate body also for the dispute settlement, and there are some specialized committees as well of the WTO. These specialized committees include the committees on agriculture, market access, anti-dumping, committee on subsidies, committee on safeguards, etc. Now, what are the goals of the World Trade Organization? Having an international trade disputes resolution body is important, especially for the developing nations which may not have the bargaining power. So it will lead to economic benefits, especially for the developing countries, as it will lead to the elimination, to the minimization of the trade barriers, the tariff barriers as well as the non-tariff barriers, the sanitary and phytosanitary measures, etc. And it will reduce the costs of the goods for the consumers, it will reduce the prices, it will increase the choice available for the consumers. As if one country establishes a huge base for the manufacturing capacity of a particular product, then they will be achieving the economy of scale in that product, therefore the prices of production of that product will come down, ultimately it will be benefiting the consumers also. Therefore, having a WTO which can reduce the trade barriers can be beneficial for the consumers as well as for the developing nations. Also, it will lead to better development and equity, because it can lead to economic growth. As the supply chains are developed more, then there will be economies of scale which will be achieved, ultimately contributing to the growth of both the source nations as well as the destination nations, and it will lead to the employment generation as well in the developing countries, because there the labor supply will be in the abundant, and the weaker nations, they will also get a voice, because else they might not have enough bargaining power against the developed nations if there is no international body like a WTO. Also, it will help us in achieving the environmental and social goals as the global common as a whole, because there will be no disguised trade barriers if the WTO is putting in place certain rules for the principles for the international trade, and it balances the trade with the other priorities as well, that is the environmental priorities, ensuring that there is no environmental harm. The WTO also contributes in the maintaining of global stability, because through the dispute settlement mechanism, the peaceful resolution of disputes is attempted, therefore contributing to stability, and also it helps in tackling of the protectionism and uncertainty in the global trade, etc. Now let's trace the evolution of the dispute settlement mechanism in the WTO. For that, let us first look at the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. The GATT introduced the Article 23, through which the disputes were attempted to be settled first bilaterally, and then decisions were to be taken by a consensus among the parties, among the disputing parties. If the consensus could not be achieved, then independent panels were established expert panels which will then be submitting a recommendation, a report. The reports of the expert panels will be binding upon both the disputing parties. But there were certain weaknesses in the system of the GATT. That is, there was the positive consensus rule. For example, first, when the decisions were to be arrived through consensus, then even if one party voted against that, then it will not be followed. Therefore, it gave a kind of a veto mechanism to the disputing party which was aggrieved, which did not agree with the decision taken. Therefore, it was a weak mechanism for arriving at a consensus. Then there was the Uruguay round, which led to the birth of the dispute settlement unit. Through this, the key reforms were the negative consensus principle was adopted. That is, once the consensus is arrived, then it has to be followed unless all the members disagree from adopting it. And along with it, the strict timelines were adopted, that if there is a dispute, then within 1 year the expert panel has to give a ruling, and within 15 months it has to be decided if there is an appeal against the expert panel ruling. Also, there was the constitution of an appellate body for the legal review of the ruling of the independent expert panel. Also, there cannot be any unilateral blocking of the rulings. That is, the party which is not happy with the ruling, that cannot unilaterally block the implementation of that ruling. So what is the dispute settlement process under the WTO? Let us observe the process as well. First, it goes for the consultation mechanism. That is, first the consultation is promoted between the disputing parties. 60 days are given for the disputing parties to arrive through negotiation at an agreement. If there is no agreement through the consultation process, then there is the formation of a panel. The panel has to be formed within 45 days, and if the panel gives a ruling, then the losing party cannot block the implementation of the ruling of the expert panel. The panel report has to be submitted within 6 months to the dispute settlement body, and an appeal can be filed against the panel report also. This appeal can be filed in 60 to 90 days, and it is reviewed by the appellate body, a 7-member appellate body. And regarding its implementation and enforcement, a reasonable period is given to the parties for its compliance. If there is non-compliance by any of the parties, then the compensation negotiations are taken up in 20 days. That is, the party which is not complying, that has to compensate the other party. And if there are further non-compliance, then the trade sanctions can also be authorized by the dispute settlement body. That is, the party which is aggrieved because of the non-compliance, that can impose the retaliatory sanctions upon the party which is not complying. But there are certain challenges in this mechanism. First, there are sovereignty related concerns. Because the WTO panels, they have been reviewing the domestic laws, terming the domestic laws of the countries as WTO inconsistent, and India has also adversely faced the WTO rulings that we'll see in the form of 3 case studies. And it resorts to judicial lawmaking, as the panels are filling in the gaps in the trade rules that are not made in the WTO rules. Also, the appellate body has become dysfunctional. From 2019 till present, the US has been blocking the appointments of the judges for the appellate body. Therefore, the countries have been resorting to the ad hoc arbitration as an alternative mechanism because of the non-functioning of the appellate body. Also, there are institutional challenges as well in the current dispute settlement mechanism of the WTO. For example, there are complex cases, whereas the workload of the WTO officials is high, and it leads to the delays in the dispute resolution. Also, there is a lack of transparency because the hearings, they are closed door hearings regarding the dispute settlement mechanisms, and there are bias risks also because most of the officials, they are coming from the developed countries, the Western countries, the developed economies. Now let's also observe a few case studies of the WTO disputes against India and what has India learned from them. First, there was a dispute regarding the agricultural products. In 2012, the USA challenged India's import bans because there were influenza concerns. Therefore, we banned the imports of poultry from USA. And the WTO panel, the independent expert panel, and also the appellate body both observed that there is no scientific basis against this import ban, and this is functioning as a trade restrictive ban. This ruling was against India. So what lesson did India learn? First, we revised our sanitary and phytosanitary measures so that they become WTO compliant, and we went for evidence based trade policies, and therefore we revised our risk assessments to become WTO compliant. Another case study is related to the solar cells and solar modules. We imposed the domestic content requirements for the same. USA again challenged the domestic content requirement for the solar modules under the solar mission. It was alleged that it is violating the TRIMS and the national treatment rules. So what did India do? We shifted our focus to R&D, tax incentives, and to increase the competitiveness. Also, we tried to achieve a balance between trade and the environmental goals, because we wanted to develop the solar energy industry in India itself, and therefore we went for the innovation driven policies over protectionism. Another case study is regarding the export subsidies. Again, it was US which challenged India's merchandise export from India scheme export subsidies. It was again alleged that India is violating WTO's SCM agreement. Therefore, India phased out the merchandise export from India scheme. Rather, we introduced the ROD tab, the rebate on the duties and taxes on the exported products, which is WTO compliant scheme, and therefore we went for the tax or the duty refunds over the direct subsidies. So what are the suggestions that we can give for the reforms in the dispute settlement mechanism of the WTO? First, there should be a pre-panel dispute resolution system also. Before the disputing parties approach for the constitution of the independent expert panels, rather there should be consultation mechanisms and pre-panel mandatory mediation and conciliation, and there can be non-binding arbitration also for sensitive sovereignty related issues. Regarding the appellate body and the panels, they can be strengthened. For example, permanent judges can be appointed in the appellate body so that there are no biases, because the judges, they are usually coming from the developed economies. Also, there can be transparency reforms. For example, the hearings, they should not be closed door hearings, rather open public hearings, except if it is containing some sensitive data or sensitive information of a country. And there can be exploration of the alternative enforcement mechanisms. For example, going for monetary compensation. If one party is not complying with the ruling, with the directive, then it has to compensate the other aggrieved party, and there can be fines imposed for the non-compliance, because going for monetary compensation or fines, it can be more effective rather than going for the retaliatory sanctions or the trade sanctions. Along with this, we need to ensure judicial independence. For example, the standing WTO court, that should have expert judges, but they should not be biased. They should be from a diverse background, and there should be clearer legal boundaries so that they are not infringing upon the domestic laws and thereby causing the sovereignty concerns for the developing nations especially. Now coming to the article, it suggests that the WTO is facing its biggest crisis since its founding in 1995. The dispute settlement system, that is, it is effectively paralyzed because the appellate body appointments have been stalled for years, especially because of USA. And the WTO negotiations, they have struggled to keep pace with the major global shifts. For example, the digital commerce. Digital commerce is a rapidly growing sector, but it is also forming a large part of the cross-border economic activity, but the WTO rules have not evolved as such. With 166 members of the WTO, and they are all at very different levels of development, sometimes consensus is hard to reach. There are on top of it geopolitical tensions and also the growing use of tariffs such as political tools, and they have distorted the markets. So we should not look at these problems like the irrelevance of WTO, rather we should look at it positively, that the global trade, most of the global trade still operates under the WTO rules. Therefore, the emerging economies which now export the advanced and technology intensive products, climate related trade measures are expanding, digital networks are reshaping how the global production works. Accordingly, the WTO also has to evolve, reforms are needed, as the rules designed for the late 20th century trading system cannot fully govern the 21st century one. There is a means practice question also. Discuss the concerns regarding the dispute settlement mechanism in the WTO. Suggest reforms to enhance its effectiveness. Please try to write it.